Welcome to episode 1469 of The Sleeper and the Bust. I am Justin Mason, joined as always on Sundays by Jason Collette. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. And do you know why?
Why?
It's February. You know what that means?
Pitchers and catchers reporting soon?
9 days away, dude.
There
9
you go, baby.
days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. 9. Love it.
We're a week away from football being over.
Even better.
And then pitchers and catchers will report. And we will and then the Winter Olympics happen. I mean, people now know I love the Winter Olympics. It sounds like you are having Winter Olympics already in North Carolina. You got dumped with a bunch of snow last night.
We had a bomb cyclone sit over Charlotte last night, and we have about a foot of snow outside, which is more. And I've been here since July of 14, and it's more than I've seen in the combined time between yesterday and when I moved here. It is crazy how much it came down. And this is on the heels of the ice storm that we had last week. And so it's just like my daughter's been in physical school 1 day or 2 days on delays. She hasn't had a normal day of school in quite some time, and I doubt it's going to happen this week because this snow is going nowhere anytime soon. And yeah, just the volume. It's crazy. Thankfully, I have 2 adult children that can help clean some of this stuff up, and it doesn't all fall on dear old dad.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I can't even imagine anymore. I was telling you, I have not seen snow in a decade, so no current plans to make that happen anytime soon. So we are going to be talking about something a lot more hot stove. We have some transactions, nothing like earth shattering, but finally one of the bigger names to sign has done so. But we're still waiting on quite a number of guys that we would have thought would be signed by now. We have Framber Valdez still looking for a home. Eugenio Suarez still looking for a home. Chris Bassett, Justin Verlander, Nick Martinez, Lucas Giolito. Like, there's still some pretty interesting names out on the market, but we do have Luis Arraez signing a 1-year, $12 million deal to go play for my Giants. I'm not super happy about this. I'm not unhappy, but
well, tell me why. All right, so tell me why you're unhappy.
I mean, I'm not necessarily unhappy. Like he does make a lot of contact. This is a team that can strike out a lot, so maybe he counterbalances them. They're planning on playing him at second base every day, and that's the part that makes me unhappy because he is not a second baseman anymore at this point in his career. And this is a team that has said they're prioritizing defense. To me, they should have gone out and tried to get Nico Horner. They should have gone out and tried to get Brendan Donovan, and this is kind of a fallback. It's a 1-year, $12 million. You're not locked into it long term, so like I'm not overly worried about most aspects. This just definitely does not help the defense, which could be a problem for some of their pitchers.
As I saw a few people point out on Blue Sky last night, the contrast between the left side of the Giants infield and the right side of the Giants infield is night and day. I get it. Maybe the acquisition cost to do some of the other moves that you thought could have been a problem. That maybe that's what it comes down to. But as somebody who just lived through the Brandon Lau experience at second base for a number of years, I don't know if Arraez can be any worse. I mean, last year Lau was 9 runs below average, on ounce above average, and he was the worst regular second baseman in baseball. And yet, I still wanted him in the lineup every day. And when I look at Arraez, I see a guy who's now going to likely set the table in the Giants lineup. I feel like he's the logical leadoff hitter for this. And looking over, that's what Roster Resource is saying too.
Yeah, probably.
So you could have a nice volume of plate appearances, and that should really help. So, I mean, I absolutely understand the concerns around the defense and where that's going to be. But, his ADP was just inside the top 250. Now that we can project him to be a leadoff hitter for a team, and we're going to talk about this later, but, offense gets you to the big leagues, or, defense gets you there. Offense keeps you there, but you still have to play some defense. That said, you just got paid $12 million. Arraez is going to have to absolutely stink to get out of the lineup. They can make room for him. If second base just isn't going to work out, okay, go DH. That's going to hurt, Bryce Eldridge shares, because that's kind of where they have Bryce Eldridge set up right now. So that could hurt a little bit. But Arias isn't a lot. As long as he's going to be there, this should be a nice, healthy amount of plate appearances, which will help your batting average, obviously. We're talking about a career 317 hitter coming off his quote-unquote worst season of hitting 292. But we're also talking about a guy who's had 4 straight seasons of 600-plus plate appearances and now has a chance at 700 if he's going to be hitting leadoff every day.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to have some value, especially if you need batting average kind of later in the draft. I just never draft these guys. I feel like if you're drafting Luis Ariz, you've made another mistake somewhere already. And so I'm never planning on taking a Luis Ariz type. And going to the Giants doesn't do anything.
Does he have another type, though? I would say like he is one of those unicorns, because else?
Jacob Wilson.
Yeah, I would say Wilson could at least hit for a little more power just because of the ballpark difference. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's archetype of 2. Yeah, it is Ariz and it's Wilson, and that's it.
Yeah, you just like if something obviously, like you said, Luis Ariz has had 4 straight seasons of 600+ plate appearances. Last 2 years, he's gone 672 or more in each of the last 2 seasons. So you're going to get a lot of plate appearances with that good batting average. That can be very, very helpful. It just comes at such a deficit. And going to San Francisco, I don't think he's getting back to 8 home runs again, right? I think he's probably more of a 5-6.
No, but I would take the slight over on him setting a new career high in runs scored.
Yep.
Which was previously 88, and now he's got Devers and Adames hitting behind him. I would take the slide over on him. 90 runs this season.
Yeah, I think that is a good gamble right there. Let's stick with the Giants. They also signed Harrison Bader. I just added him to the rundown because I remembered as we were discussing. He gets a 2-year, $20.5 million contract to probably play right field or maybe center in San Francisco. This is somewhat of hey, we are prioritizing outfield defense. The Giants' outfield defense has been some of the worst in baseball over the course of the last few years. In an outfield as big as San Francisco's, that's a problem. So this will definitely help the pitchers. Do we care about him offensively enough to draft him anywhere?
No, this hurts. I mean, this hurts his fantasy. I love the signing for the real baseball perspective of this, and love the player. One of my favorite guys to just watch play baseball. With that, but I hate this. I hate the location for him for fantasy purposes. And we just see a season where he's coming off of hitting 17 home runs as he played between Minnesota and Philadelphia. Yeah, give me the under on that. The previous season when he played for the Mets, he had 12 home runs. So it's just going to hurt his fantasy production value, and that's what I hate about it. But he can play all 3 positions. And like I said, if you're looking to prioritize your outfield defense and help your pitchers, this is a great move. I would put him in right field to help cover that gap between right and center that exists in the park. And by the way, I'm coming to San Francisco in June, and the Giants are on the road. So bummed about that. So they're going to be in Denver when I'm there. So found out the other day, hey, we need you to go to San Francisco. Cool. Check schedule. Damn it. But yeah, I don't like this. Would reduce wherever you had Bader ranked as you're doing your draft planning. You got to knock him down a bit. Just that this isn't a great fit for his offensive value, especially a guy that is dead red pull hitter for his power. Look at his numbers, 250, 10-ish home runs, 50, 60 runs batted in RBI. Yeah. That's kind of where I put him. And he's going to hit in the bottom part of the lineup, too.
Yep. Yeah, he's probably going to hit 7th or 8th in this lineup. No real fantasy value for him. He does help the pitchers, though. So, I mean, if you're hoping to get a little bit of bump for those Giants pitchers, Bader will help a little bit. Probably maybe counteracting what Luis Ariz might hurt the pitchers with. So, all right, next on the docket, we got Austin Hayes going to the White Sox. White Sox making some interesting moves. It's going to be a really fun team to watch. I don't know if it's going to be a good team to watch, but it'll be a fun team to watch. What are your thoughts about Austin Hayes going to Chicago?
I love this one. Take kind of what I said, the exact opposite about Bader and the going to San Francisco, and just flip that with Hayes going to the White Sox. This is a great opportunity for him to take advantage of. Hey, you're the veteran. I mean, he is absolutely. You go look at the depth chart and go look at the ages. He is the only. Oh, I take that back. Benintendi. So Benintendi now has somebody else in the over 30 club on this roster. And Hayes could be out there every day. I mean, defensively, we've seen him do some things, but we've also seen him hurt himself doing those things with that. But he should have the opportunity here to play every day, get in an outfield, and you look at his career highs. I mean, we can't say the 2021 Baltimore, that was pre-changing the walls. So let's take that one off the table. And then we see home run seasons of 16, 15. So, you can feel comfortable saying we can project mid-teens home runs. And his numbers, even the 2023 Baltimore season, very repeatable. That was a 111 WRC plus season too. This is a great fit for him. He will likely get in the over-under thing. He could likely set a career high for plate appearances this year on this team, assuming he doesn't get traded. If he's doing well and they end up flipping him,
I'm sure they will.
A 1-year deal. That's where it hurts. But until that move happens, I love this landing spot for Hayes.
Yeah, he should set a career high in plate appearances in Chicago. Probably going to be hitting middle towards the back of the lineup, depending on where they have him settle in. I could see them having him bat 6, though. And yeah, setting a career high. I mean, he's never had 600 plate appearances in a season, but I think this will be the year he does that as long as he stays healthy. A little bit of pop, a little bit of speed. Mm-hmm. Decent average. I think this is kind of a sneaky little pull for deeper formats. So, I like Austin Hayes heading to Chicago as well. What about Edward Julian being traded to the Rockies? We briefly mentioned this on either Thursday or Friday's episode because we were just looking at the Rockies' kind of interesting roster. Another one of those teams that's going to be fun to watch. Maybe won't win a lot, but I think they're building in the right direction. Are you interested in Julian, who, hey, this is a guy who's got some talent, but struggles defensively and hasn't had consistent playing time in Minnesota. But now in Minnesota, he should, or sorry, in Colorado, he should.
I don't know. I mean, this situation, Minnesota was desperate to get rid of Julian. This was not, they didn't want him on the roster. He's out of options. And now he's in Colorado and he's in the same situation. He's out of options. Really, the only thing that's changed is now he's in Colorado. So let's see what happens. I mean, it's been the last couple of years. You look at statistically, it's been a backslide. He made some nice noise early on in facing righties. The hitting lefties is absolutely not his thing. So, but hitting righties when he's able to maximize that in age 24 season, had some nice numbers, 134 WRC plus, but struck out a third of the time. And then the last 2 seasons just hasn't been there. And the strikeouts have still been there in spades. Now, Rockies don't care. They have a number of hitters like this. And he's out of options. Julian still is completely off my radar for a mixed league, a standard redraft 30, draft and hold. Sure. NL only. Yeah, but just listen to the tone of my voice. This is if somebody else strikes this and this is the guy that breaks out again every year, somebody breaks for the Rockies. If this is the guy this year and I miss out on it, I'm cool with that. But every data point that I've looked at, it's like, okay, yeah, he draws a lot of walks and he strikes out a bunch and does very little in between that. So he's a 2.5 true outcome player.
I am a little bit interested in him as like maybe a bench bat in a 15-team league, but that's pretty much it. Like, or an on-base percentage league, right? Like Tout Wars, I'm in a 15-team OBP league. I can make an argument that this is a guy who could have like a 360, 370 on-base percentage and not be a 0 in, power. So like, 20 home runs and, a 360 on base percentage, 370 on base percentage, like that would be interesting to me. Especially because like all the projection systems right now, I think are fairly low on his plate appearances kind of moving forward.
Yes. The depth chart has them high, but everybody else Zips has them. I would just say it's a shame that Edward Julian has 1 A in his name because he really should have 4. That is a quad A player if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, well, let's keep it rolling then. Talk about Sir Anthony Dominguez heading to the White Sox. Is he going to be the closer, you think?
God, why? This was such a I know you said something a few minutes ago. You said, hey, the White Sox are having a good offseason. This was not one of those moves. I do not understand why they gave Dominguez this money. I mean, this is a guy when you look at, yes, there is some swing and miss in his game, but just when you go back and look at the numbers last year, it was mind-blowing to me that a guy who had 12 wild pitches and a 14% walk rate. What part of that screams closer? Yes, he can strike guys out, but he walks a lot of guys. He often doesn't know where the pitch is going. And you had options in that bullpen. I love Grant Taylor. I really like him this season. I still like Grant Taylor this season, but this move to me made no sense. This isn't money unless they're having to try to get to some number to be like, hey, we spent money. This kind of rings like what the Athletics did with Severino last year. Like, this is not a good fit. I don't like Dominguez as a closer. I will tell you in a draft Champions League I'm in right now, somebody took Dominguez in the 13th round, 13.2, and he is that team's second closer along with Trevor McGill. So there's some risk on that team with somebody who may get traded. Then you have Dominguez, but I absolutely hate this signing. If I'm in an AL, I'm an AL labor and I'm an AL tout. I'll be stunned if this guy ends up on one of my teams. I will push the bids, but I do not want this guy on my team. And pretty much I'm not hiding that from anybody here. I don't want this guy on my team. I don't like him on the White Sox. And I thought this was a very terrible signing.
I mean, I agree. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the White Sox. For fantasy, though, like, he's a guy he's going to be a closer on a team in baseball. Like, that's going to have value, right? And the White Sox know they're going to be terrible. So if he blows a few games, he blows a few games, right? I think they signed him so they could trade him later, right? They're going to be able to trade him at the deadline.
Even 220. I mean, that's a commitment. Yeah. That's the scary part. It's like, okay, fine.
But somebody competing will, if he's good at the deadline, someone who's competing will be fine with that. 220, like, that's not, like, especially when they're only paying a year and a half of that. Like, yeah, some team will take that off their hands and give up something, especially because it's another year of control. If he's good, if he's not, like, whatever, you eat it. But
there's no such thing as a bad 1 year deal. And I would have, if this was a 1 year deal, I wouldn't be so emotionally bothered by this. But this was a 2 year deal. You had better internal options.
You're emotionally bothered by this because you wanted Grant Taylor to be the dude.
I still do. I still think there's still value.
That's the reason. It has less to do with Anthony Dominguez. Yeah, like I get that.
They have options. And I mean, I'm looking, as somebody that watches a lot of their minor league. I want to see that development. I see these guys in Kannapolis. I see them in Charlotte. I want to see them. The White Sox have become more watchable. And there's that progress. And they've got Hagen Smith and they've got Noah Schultz. They've got other guys coming for overall pitching. And Taylor, I'm not sure, he could join the rotation, but I don't know if he needs to. And if that's the case, it's like, okay, we're sad to Dominguez because, yeah, we like Taylor, but we want him to go to the rotation. Okay, I'm not as upset with this, but I don't know. I just felt like there were other options they could have investigated before doing this.
That's fair. All right. Let's talk about the Astros. They're going to be having a 6-man rotation. Does that change your values on some of these guys since they're not going to be taking as many turns in the rotation?
So in that aforementioned draft and hold, I took Hunter Brown at the 3.4. So he was the 34th player off the board. So I took him as my SP1. It changed a little bit of the evaluation, but you have a 6-man rotation until you don't. And let's be real. If you have Lance McCullers penciled in your 6-man rotation, you don't have a 6-man rotation. Yeah. Spencer Arrighetti still hasn't proven he can stay healthy. I know the whole batting practice issue was one thing, but that's another issue. And I was reading a note in Zimmerman's Mining the News that he quoted a piece from Chandler Roma at The Athletic. 26 games in the first 28 days of the season. That's a big driver for the 6-man rotation right now out of the gate. And so Are you projecting Hunter Brown for 32 starts? I would say no. 29 to 30, he's probably going to lose 1 or 2 in that capacity, and that would trickle down for the other Astros options. But then if you have a 6-man rotation, that's going to require your bullpen to do a little bit more lifting as well. So they have some, they have some options there, but I just wanted to bring that bit of news out because on paper they're saying this. And so you may want to reduce what you're looking at for starts by 5 to 10, but for innings by 5 to 10 innings, starts 1 to 2 starts until this works out. But early on, for at least the month of April, 6-man rotation makes sense for them given their schedule.
Yeah, and I will point out that Arrighetti not even in the rotation at the moment, so he will probably either be a long reliever or head back down to AAA to start the season, unless there's an injury, which, as you mentioned, when you've got Lance McCullers and Christian Javier in this rotation, there could be injury. But the Astros have a ton of depth. If you look down in their rotation in AAA, it's filled with some names we've heard over the last few years. Spencer Arrighetti, Jason Alexander, Colton Gordon. Like, they've got a good amount of depth. What they don't have is left-handed pitchers.
They have Colton Gordon. They have the best one of them all because he went to UCF. But they have one.
He's in AAA though. Like, he's like right now they're planning a 6-man, and I don't know that Colton Gordon's the first man up into that rotation if someone goes down. I wonder if there's going to be another move here made to go grab a lefty at some point.
We tried to put Jose Quintana on this team a while ago, and it never happened. Jose Quintana's still out there.
That would make the most amount of sense, considering
there has to be some moves this week, man. Like we said, pitchers and catchers report in 9 days.
Yeah.
If I'm one of these free agent pitchers, I'm calling my agent and be like, dude,
do you think that they would bring back Framber on a pillow deal, or do you think
I feel that bridge is napalmed.
Yeah, I do too. So, all right. Last piece of news: we got Aaron Ashby is going to be a multi-inning guy in the pen. What are your thoughts there?
So I saw a note about, again, in Jeff's column, and it mentioned that Aaron Ashby and DL Hall are being looked at as multi-inning guys with Milwaukee. With Freddie Peralta leaving that, their rotation is Woodruff, Mizorowski, Priester, Patrick, and Henderson on a roster resource. But there's still some question on how many innings they're going to get out of that rotation. So I'd be curious with Ashby and Hall, both as former starting pitchers in that pen, if they're going to work multi-innings, gives them some more strikeouts, keeps them in the middle innings type of thing, because both of those guys there are 5 lefties in that bullpen. So you've got Jared Koenig, you've got Ashby, Zerpa, who they've also looked at being a starter, Zastrany, who's not, and then you have Hall. So they have 5 lefties in that pen. Just kind of fascinated from a baseball perspective how they're going to use all of this in the bullpen and how they try to make up for the loss of Peralta. Not that he was an innings horse. It's just that's a big piece in the rotation to replace, and maybe they're just going to throw more bodies at it and see what they can do throughout the season. I like Ashby. I love him out of the bullpen, and in an NL only league, the ratios and the strikeouts just intrigues me with that. And I even took him in a draft and hold. One of the draft and holds I did earlier this winter. I have him there, and DL Hall is somebody that I've always liked, but he's had trouble staying on the roster. So I'm just curious to see how they go there, but I feel like NL only folks may want to know that bit of news.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting too, even for like 15-team mix, not long term, but like for the first weekend, right? Because the first weekend, typically you don't see starters go super deep. And these are guys that you're drafting at the back end. Some of these guys you can draft at the back end of your draft and then drop and try to sneak an easy or cheap win. And they've got the Royals at home. So it's like, some winnable teams. A couple of these guys might pick up some like cheap, easy wins. I wouldn't mind putting like one of, like Aaron Ashby or DL Hall on my roster for the weekend, see if I sneak a win and then toss them off to go pick someone else up.
Yeah.
All right. Our main topic for the day, last time we did AL only, or not AL only, but AL sophomore players, talking about guys who were rookies last year and what we expect coming into their sophomore season. This year, or this week, we're going to talk about NL guys. Let's start with the NL Rookie of the Year, Drake Baldwin, who had a fantastic season in his rookie year. Really kind of came out of nowhere. I think people weren't as tuned in on him because of Sean Murphy being the catcher and a former All-Star catcher in Atlanta. Drake Baldwin takes over that job when
Yep.
Murphy is hurt, goes on to have a great season. Now he is the dude. What are your thoughts on Drake Baldwin?
So yeah, and that was the whole Sean Murphy thing. That was one of the folks that I was actively targeting across multiple leagues last year. I really loved Murphy's power potential and the opportunity. I was thinking, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, it's him and a rookie catcher. How could this possibly go wrong? Whoops, that went wrong. And I was impressed with what we saw with Baldwin. Pitchers like throwing to him. And I have nothing to base this on, but like the one, every time I look at this, and especially with the sophomore, I can't get the Bo Naylor thought out of my head. And I have absolutely nothing to pair the two, but Bo Naylor made a very impressive debut and then has not taken that next step. Even has a step back. And the whole sophomore slump theory is a theory because it happens with some guys. It doesn't happen with everybody. You can't apply it to everybody, but it does happen with something. And we've talked about the tax of the catching position, all the other responsibilities that come along with it, both from your body and from your mind, all of that. And so I would love to see Baldwin take that step forward. But I'm also expecting, and just with everything else, how we get conditioned, how do you expect him to take a step forward? When I'm looking at ADP report right now with Baldwin, he's inside the top 100. He's just like 90.45 is where his actual draft champions over the last 30 days. So that's putting him in a 6th round. And that's an aggressive price for me. I get it. And there's some pretty decent depth at the catching position. Looking at my own ADP, my first catcher was Yainer Diaz, and I took him towards the end of the 8th round. And I need to take another catcher, and I'll probably do that here soon with that. But I personally don't like where Baldwin's going in the market price, but I absolutely get it coming off the season he just had.
Yeah, a Bo Naylor comp is wild, and I know you're not saying like it's a comp in terms of.
I'm just talking the sophomore. There's absolutely no other foundation to that. It's just sophomore to sophomore type of thing.
But I think this is a good conversation to talk about with sophomores in terms because Bo Naylor is a guy who just can't make contact, right? Swings and misses way too much, and what we often see, especially with these hitters, and we'll talk about the pitcher side of this too here in a little bit. Is these guys come up, pitchers haven't seen them, and they just, they're swinging at everything, and pitchers don't know yet how to attack them, and then pitchers catch up to them eventually, right? And their sophomore year, and they fall off. But Drake Baldwin is a really, really good contact hitter in zone. It's actually his best attribute is like how he makes contact, especially within the zone. 88.4% zone contact is very, very good, especially for a catcher. And like he does have power, but I don't see a lot of power growth here. So I think this is more of like, hey, I think he's going to give you a pretty safe floor. I think he's going to hit 270 or 280. He's probably going to hit 15 to 20 home runs. If Atlanta finally lives up to what their potential is on paper,
right?
Could be a boatload of runs and RBIs in this lineup. But like, I don't see him taking another step forward. This is very much like the Jeremy Pena story, right? Where like, yeah, it's a really good rookie season, and that's probably what you're going to get moving forward. Part of the problem for Drake Baldwin is he does not elevate the ball. He had a 6.6 degree launch angle last year. In AAA in 2024, it was 7.7. So like that isn't an optimal launch angle for a guy hitting for power. You look at his fly ball rates; they're pretty much all under 40% since 2023. Ground ball rates are between 45 and 55%. Throughout his minor leagues. So like this is a guy who puts the ball on the ground. He does hit for good average, but like there isn't going to be a massive power jump here. Now, if he was able to raise that launch angle and not sacrifice the exit velocities, which are pretty good, then like, hey, maybe we have a huge jump. But I that's a really hard thing to predict, and I would not project that to happen. I'm looking at him as a guy who's probably going to hit 18, 19 home runs, hit 275, and with good counting cats. And like, I'm totally like, as my first catcher in a 15 team league where I want some level of safety, I've got no problem where he's going.
I hear you on all those points. How about another, and this wasn't a true sophomore campaign either, but what about 2021 to 2022 Alejandro Kirk? Body types, obviously, nowhere close, but similar things as you outlined. Doesn't loft the ball, makes a ton of contact, good zone discipline. All those things applied there. And then I remember being on Alejandro Kirk in 2022 and watching him take that statistical step back, and that didn't work out. So that's another one. And then you were talking about 19. Like, I'm looking at the projection for the home runs. On the low end, it's the bad X at 15, and on the high end, it's Zips DC with 23. Oopsie's got Baldwin at 20. To me, it's like, I'm not arguing the first catcher. Absolutely, he's a C1. It's just, for me, the early sixth round price to me, or end of sixth. I mean, just a 6th round price and all. To me, that's kind of scary and risky. But that's my personal opinion.
I mean, I can argue like that, like maybe he is going a little bit too high. If you don't like the upside there. But I don't think it's risky. I think it's the opposite of risky. I think he's a guy that, like, you can pencil in a pretty decent stat line and just go, okay, it'll be fine. You know, one of the things that Kirk had that Drake Baldwin doesn't have is competition, right? Like, Sean Murphy is probably starting the year on the IL, and when he comes back, he's not really a threat for Drake Baldwin's playing time. You know, like, he'll give him a few days off here and there, but for the most part, Sean Murphy will be the backup catcher and, you know, part-time DH in Atlanta. So, like, I think Baldwin's really safe. Like, if you want more upside in your catcher, your C1, like, yeah, like, there are guys going around Drake Baldwin that, like, you could just go, listen, I'm gonna take Hunter Goodman, or I'm gonna take Augustin Ramirez, or I'm gonna wait a little bit and take, you know, another safe guy in Will Smith, right? Or take Sal Perez. Like, if that is more your cup of tea, I get it. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking Drake Baldwin where he's going. But honestly, a lot of times I'm gonna wait, right? I'm just gonna say, like, because what is the difference between Drake Baldwin and Will Smith going, you know, 15, 20 picks later? I don't think there is one, right?
Not really.
Aren't they the same guy? Like, yeah, I think kind of exactly the same guy, right? Low 20s home runs, and a good batting average on a good team. I mean, I think you make the argument Will Smith is on the, well, I mean, I think the argument is obviously Will Smith's on the better team, right? So why not just wait? Like, I don't have a problem with, if you think that you can just get Will Smith the following round, you know, just passing on Drake Baldwin for a better player at a different position. All right, let's move over to the pitching side of things and talk about Cade Horton coming off of a pretty good rookie campaign. Are you interested in Cade Horton in year 2?
No, I'm not. I would say, and this is going to be one of those screen share moments. But this was Cade Horton, and Justin didn't know this. Cade Horton is somebody I wrote up in the NL Central Bold Predictions, the RotoWire, and I did not like what I looked at here. So if we look at the screen, this was a table that I had, and if I can embiggen it a bit so we can all see it, I took a look and I was like, you know, show me the stuff plus numbers and show me the strikeout minus walk percentage for pitchers that were similar to Cade Horton. And Cade Horton's stuff plus was 96, and his strikeout minus walk percentage was 13.4. And that puts him almost identical to Zach Gallen last year. And yet Horton is the highest drafted pitcher of all of these guys. So for those that are listening to this instead of watching it, understand that Mitch Keller, Kikuchi, Simeon Woods Richardson, Littell, Noah Cameron, Matthew Liberatore, Quinn Priester, Colin Ray, all very similar by those two metrics. And Cade Horton's going before all of them, and well before all of them. Everybody else is outside the top 250, and there's Cade Horton at 167. I am absolutely not interested in this market price based off what we've seen here. I felt that, you know, looking through some of the other numbers, you can see some of the fortune that Horton had. And if I like the profile, then I'm just going to wait on multiple options going much later in the draft and take a shot at Cade Horton.
Yeah, I tend to agree here. I'm just not a big Cade Horton guy. The stuff is not what was advertised in the minor leagues. It's good command, good control. I think that can stick around, and he can be a very usable pitcher. But for him going as high as he is at 196, like you're talking about, um, a spot where, I mean, I guess it's not that high, but like you're also talking about passing up on guys like Shane Bieber, Edward Cabrera, Shane Boz, Mackenzie Gore, Aaron Nola's down here, Zach Gallen's down here, Chris Bubich is down here. I think Andrew Abbott is very much Kate Horton-esque, but he's down here. Like,
But at
there's a
least he has
lot.
upside. I mean, what is Horton? What is he doing? What is in his profile that's so demonstrably better than those rest of the guys?
I think
that
it's
we
the
have
minor
mentioned
league
to
numbers.
justify this.
It's the minor league numbers, right?
Well, then if we're going to look at the minor league numbers, then
yeah.
let's not forget that his workload went from 34 innings to 147 last year as a 23-year-old. That I think a lot of
the crap out of I think a lot of people are remembering him being a top 50 prospect and seeing that he was really good last year in the results and going, hey, like, he's gonna take a step forward. Guys don't always take a step forward. He had an 11% swing and strike rate last year. It was 13% in AAA, but like, we don't care as much about the AAA sample as we do the much larger MLB sample. Like, if he could jump back up to being a 27, 28% strikeout guy, I'd be all in on this. But the stuff doesn't dictate that that's going to happen. The swing and strike rate doesn't dictate that that's going to happen. He was very much a product of his defense behind him, and that defense is still good behind him, but like, he's probably going to get some bad BABIP luck, or at least not nearly as good BABIP luck as he had. He had a 258 BABIP. Like that's not gonna sustain itself. He was like a 300 BABIP guy for most of his minor league career. So like, I think there is a lot of regression coming here, and I'm not super interested in Cade Horton in drafts as well as you. Let's move over, same division, different position. Move over to third base for a minute here. Talk about Caleb Durbin, who, this is another guy, former kind of prospect of note. A lot of contact, not a lot of everything else. There is some speed. Any interest in Cade Horton?
Yeah, I mean, I loved. Well, we're talking about Caleb Durbin. You said
Caleb. Oh, sorry, Caleb Durbin.
Wait,
I'm off today. I don't know what's going on.
I love Durbin coming into last year. This was one of those players in Durbin that we saw at the AFL last year. And what really turned heads in the AFL was that he was running all over the place. Like, he ran with the Yankees, but in the AFL, they basically put him out there and said, run, kid. And he did extremely well. And this was somebody that I picked up in a lot of places last year, had him in the bold prediction series last year, and that worked out really well for me as well. But this is a high, I mean, obviously we know what the risk is. Very high contact guy, very impatient, doesn't draw a lot of walks. So it's very, with all of that contact skill, you still only hit 256 because there's just a lot of batted balls in play. You need luck to kind of swing your way with that, because he's also going to hit really bottom of the lineup type of guy. So there's limitations of what he has. But I felt, as a guy that had, it was his rookie season with a contending team, and he still had a 105 WRC plus, really, did better than a lot of other guys with higher profiles. So I like Durbin. I like the situation. Milwaukee is still going to be one of those places that leverages his skill set. And for whatever reason, they just love collecting these like 5'8" infielders and different guys all over the roster. But I like Durbin this year, and I feel the skills are safe because he's not going to swing out of his shoes. He's not trying to chase the power. He knows what his limitations are as a player. But that said, he's got to get some more batted ball luck. Just has to get more batted ball luck than a 265 BABIP, because you're making that much contact and you have that much speed, and that's where you're at. I'm hoping it comes up, and you look at the projections, and the projections really aren't hoping much. Steamer's got a little bit, but there's not a lot of rebound for that. But for stolen bases, the overall projections still look right in line with where he was last year, which is, when you're based off, you're trying to pull some of the AAA stuff, and with that, but the speed is real. He can steal bases. As one of the things that he's done extremely well in 2024. In 2024 he was 36 of 44 overall. 2025 he was 21 of 28 overall, and Milwaukee just likes to run. So I'm still in on Durbin, and the market price what we're looking at with Durbin, it's we're still at 235 at third base, and he's 209 to 272 is his min-max range. I'm still very happy with that.
All right, so this is one of the weirder profiles in baseball. Like he makes a crap ton of in zone contact. 93.5% in zone contact is elite by any metric, right? Like you said, he does not walk, but he also doesn't really strike out. 10% strikeout rate last year, 6% walk rate. Makes a ton of contact. Now, a lot of it is not very hard contact, right? He only had a 27% hard contact rate. But for a guy who does not strike out very much because he's making so much contact, but also doesn't walk, what do you think his O swing percentage is? And for reference, league average O swing in 2025 was 31.5%.
I'm going to guess like 45%, and I truly have not even looked.
Yeah. Well, you'd be completely wrong. It's half of that. It is, or less than half of that is 22%. Like that is such a weird.
Yeah, like he's swinging a lot of
stuff. You'd be Michael Harris, right?
Contact.
Yeah, you'd think he'd be swinging outside the zone all the time. How is he not walking? Like anytime it's near the zone, he's just going for it. I wonder if he's jumping on first pitches a lot, and making contact. That's actually something I'm gonna see if I can figure out real quick. But I don't understand. Like, this is a weird profile, because usually it'd be like, well, if you swing outside the zone that much, that we're gonna have problems. We're gonna have Michael Harris issues. But he doesn't. He doesn't swing outside the zone. Now, in the minor leagues, he did more. So we'll see if that is a trend that he kind of, if the low O swing continues, or if it kind of reverts back to what we saw in like AAA previously. I really don't know what to make of this profile.
It's a fascinating profile.
It is such a weird profile.
It's so fascinating because, and I'm pulling up his Savant screen. If you would like to click, pull it in, because again, he's squaring a lot of 95th percentile in squaring, 96, like he's top 5 percentile in contact, in swing and miss, and squaring the ball up. It's just not going anywhere. So he's like all over the field. And when you go back, you scroll down and look and say, the league, because they know he doesn't have too much power, like 57, you don't see that kind of fastball percentage for guys, 57%. But he hit 269 off fastballs, and he hit 261 off breaking balls, but 139 off speed. Now, off speed pitches, nobody's really going to hit that well. But if you're seeing that many fastballs, and like you said, maybe he's fastball hunting, trying to go for that, then he's leaving himself open for changeups, but he's swinging and missing more at breaking balls than he is changeups. It's just fascinating to see this type of profile. But if you're the bottom part of the lineup hitter, this is going to play in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of, like, they love this contact first profile in Milwaukee. We've talked about it a lot this offseason. I talked about it yesterday on PitchCon. They love these kind of contact first profiles. And like, he is like a good enough defender where like he's not going to lose much playing time. I want to say that this profile will be a little bit volatile, but I think he's so good at contact that he will probably be fine. I think like 260 batting average, low double digit home runs and 20 plus stolen bases is kind of what you're looking at. That's just a weird fit at third base for your fantasy teams. But if that's something you need at that point, like the price isn't, really, really bad or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's move over to the outfield, where we'll talk about Isaac Collins. I think he got traded to Kansas City.
Correct, because we lost the transition. Let's just stay with the same team.
yeah. I was thinking like, oh, we can stay with the same team, but no, he was moved to Kansas City. So this is a guy that I think is going to get a little bit of buzz this offseason. in terms of maybe some sleeper value. A really interesting guy. In 441 plate appearances last year, at 9 home runs, stole 16 bases, should be playing every day in Kansas City. What are your thoughts on Isaac Collins?
So if we could take Isaac Collins and Caleb Durbin and make them one player,
Yeah,
that would
there
be
you go.
awesome. Because that's like Isaac Collins draws walks and
Mhm.
he's got more bat speed. And that if we could take that and put that all together, when we look at, it's good for Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City's outfield last year was weak,
Mhm.
weak. I believe they had the lowest amount of home runs for any outfield combined. Or they were very close to it. It's them or Tampa Bay, I forget. And that's saying something considering Tampa Bay was carrying both Jake Mangum and Chandler Simpson and giving them a lot of at-bats. But I don't believe either of these collective outfield teams hit over 40 home runs last year. I want to say one was 35 and one was 39 or 29 and 35. Those numbers are jumping out in my head. But with Collins, the opportunity is there for him to become an everyday player. With there's not really a lot of competition. He's going to hit the bottom of the lineup, but looking over on this depth chart, I'm not too worried about people stealing his opportunity. But this, as you're pulling up Collins's savant profile, this is what we were talking about. He does not chase. He walks a lot. He's got some bat speed. Now, the rest of his things aren't terribly high, but they're not single digit numbers like Durbin. Yeah. But this is somebody that hits all field. This is like the prototypical Kansas City type dude. And I'd like Collins fantasy value taking a bump, leaving Milwaukee where the playing time wasn't as clear as it's going to be here for him in Kansas City.
I think the playing time is a huge thing in terms of Isaac Collins' favor, right? Like he's going from a really crowded outfield situation where he was going to have trouble kind of breaking camp with that team, or finding everyday playing time, to going to a place like Kansas City where, he's gonna play every single day in left field. And like he's a pretty decent defender, so like he's gonna keep that playing time. And we love these contact skills, right? We're talking about a guy with an 86 or almost 87% zone contact, does not swing outside of the zone at all, right? 17.6% O swing. And that's backed up by his 19.5% in AAA in 2024. Swing and strike rate was at 9% last year. Like this, there isn't much power. We're talking low double-digit home runs, more than likely, like maybe 12, something like that. But I think 20 plus stolen bases with a pretty good average, hit 263 last year. I think he could, find himself kind of settling in at that 260 to 265 mark. Now I think he's going to hit towards the bottom of this lineup.
He has to. I don't feel unless there's an injury. I don't see. That's what I was looking at earlier over on the other screen. I don't see how he hits anything other than 8th or 9th. With Garcia,
I can see him moving up to like 6th, but I think that he's more of a guy they'd look at like restarting the back end and hitting 8th or 9th. So
correct. So they got to find some offense down there in front of Kyle Isbell, who I understand you have Isbell in there for his defense. You can't carry multiple defensive first guys. But Collins, to me, he's going to hit. And that in a shallower mixed league, obviously that's going to hurt his value a little bit just for the plate appearances and how many if he could lead off, like if this was a bad Kansas City team and Collins could lead off, I'd be more excited. But
not going to happen here.
This is still a good option. But you have to, and the shallower your league gets, the less excited you should be, the less invested you should be here. This is a bench bat for a 10 and 12, like a end game bench bat option in a shallower mixed league.
Or a 5th outfielder, 4th outfielder in a 15 teamer. Like
he is the second by ADP. He's the second outfielder in Kansas City. That's how bad that situation is.
Yeah, but I mean, like the team around him is like that's a really fun lineup. Like I actually like Kansas City there. All right, let's keep it moving. Go behind the plate over to Miami, where Agustin Ramirez is going to be, top 100 draft pick. We kind of already mentioned him a little bit earlier when we were talking about Drake Baldwin, but Ramirez has a ton of talent, a lot of potential. I think the floor is not nearly as safe as Baldwin. Where are you at on Ramirez?
So remember what I said earlier about defense gets you there, offense keeps you there. Mm-hmm. This is going to be the test because offense, Ramirez has to hit to stay because he is an absolute disaster defensively. He cannot do anything behind the plate with the running game. He is terrible back there. Take your measure. Blocks, worst in the league. Caught stealing, worst in the league. Like he is a detriment behind the plate to the entirety of what they're trying to do with the pitching staff. So he has to DH. That's really where his life should be. But that's the risk for me is like defensively, if he doesn't hit, then what do you do with him? He has to hit and has to use all these skills, but his defense is such a problem. I'm just worried what happens with this. They cannot keep him behind the plate. This has to move, and it has to move in a hurry to get there. And maybe he starts losing some playing time to Liam Hicks, who is a defender. But Agustin Ramirez is a problem behind the plate. Just watch him. Just go watch some video. Look at these numbers.
Go look at his Savant page. Yeah,
go look at those numbers. That's one thing, but just watch him catch. It's awful.
Yeah, he's a terrible catcher, and I don't think he'll be a catcher for very long. I think he'll get enough games here to retain the eligibility coming into next season. But yeah, this is a DH profile that's going to be. Now, I will say, like, offensively, there's nothing wrong with Agustin Ramirez. Like, he hits the ball extremely hard. Maybe I wish the launch angle was a little bit higher, but makes a ton of in-zone contact, 88% zone contact, 30.7% O swing is right around that league average, 31% league average. That I was talking about last year was an 11.5% swing strike rate. Like, the offensive skills are fine. I'm not worried that he's not going to hit. The question is, how long will he keep the catcher eligibility for? But that's a problem for future seasons. If you're in a dynasty or keeper league, maybe you're looking to cash in on that this year, because I think 2028 he's probably not going to have catcher eligibility.
And
but
the only thing I worry about, like the issues. So while I'm talking, go ahead and go to the leaderboard area. I would just want to highlight this, but go to the leaderboard area and go down to catching and pull up catcher throwing. So my issue, and then do a reverse sort on the first column. Scroll down a little bit more and do a reverse sort on catcher caught stealing above average. No, I'm sorry, the other one. That one. Hey, look who's the worst in the league. This is what I was talking about. But so if he loses playing time behind the plate, because they have Griffin Conine, looking at roster resource, they have Griffin Conine projected at DH. But if Ramirez is not playing every day, and
he's their DH.
Sorry?
He's their DH.
Well, Conine right now is I get that.
Agustin Ramirez is the best hitter on this team, bar none.
They got to make room. But if there's a problem, this is what I'm talking about. They have to get him off catcher. They need to come out and make a commitment and say, we get it. This guy sucks behind the plate.
They're going to bring up Joe Mack. I bet you they bring up Joe Mack in, May, around Memorial Day, and Agustin Ramirez no longer catches. That's it. Like, and he's just a DH.
There could be some early threat to his playing time. Just putting that out there.
There isn't any
just how bad this is.
There is no threat to his playing time because he will DH. Like, and then he's actually better because he's a non-catching catcher eligible player, right? Like you're saying he's going to DH days he doesn't catch, because Hicks can't catch 7 days a week. Yes, and he will, and then when he's no longer a quote unquote catcher, he will just be their everyday DH. I mean, there are some interesting players on this team. Kyle Stowers is interesting. Xavier Edwards is interesting. Jacob Marcy. Agustin Ramirez is the best hitter on this team. There's no way they play Griffin Conine over him at DH if he's not catching. Like that it just won't happen. Like I think Agustin Ramirez is going to be fine offensively.
The first base. I mean, their first base.
I don't even think he can play first base.
I don't think he could play anything in the field.
I don't think he can. I mean, maybe they would try to move him to first base, but I don't know. I think he's just DH. Like he's a very good hitter. Like I think he's going to be fine.
And that comes into play for Keeper League's dynasty, because this
2028
should absolutely be the last year that that Ramirez qualifies at any defensive position for a draft.
Well, no, he'll get 20 games this year.
He should not.
He shouldn't, but he will. It's the Marlins. They don't care.
It's coming.
He absolutely will lose the catcher eligibility at some point, but it's not going to, like, I think he'll have it for next year. And then if we have a shortened season, who knows what eligibilities look like, right? So, like, theoretically, he could keep the catcher eligibility till 2028, and then maybe 2029 he loses it. But I think it's more likely he loses it he doesn't have catcher eligibility in 2028. But that's a problem for the future, right? Unless you're looking to flip him for something, knowing that long term, especially if you're not going to be competitive until then, like, then you don't need to worry about that. All right. A guy that I really liked last year, and I think had just kind of an underrated season, is Dalen Lyle, outfielder for the Nationals. I think he was just overshadowed by a lot of the other guys within the organization in terms of Dylan Cruz and James Wood, and people don't realize how good Lyle was in the minor leagues, and in his rookie season last year had
Especially
9 home
late.
runs, 8 stolen bases, 299, 347, 498 triple slash in 351 plate appearances. What are your thoughts on Dalen Lyle?
I like him. I took him as in my DC 50. I took him as my outfield 4. I was looking back. I took him as an outfield 4 in the early part of the 20th round. So 20.3 in that particular draft. So took him back there as outfield, as we know, is thin. But I love the national situation this year only because it should be a wide open audition for everybody else. I mean, this team, we were joking about the White Sox, but the oldest person on this projected Nationals lineup is Kyber Ruiz at 27 and a half years old. It's nuts. The one thing, but looking at roster resource, the one thing I'm not buying is Dalen Lyle hitting third. I don't know how you have 3 lefties at the top of the lineup. So that, to me, that's why I want to see how this shakes out, because I understand you want Abrams up there, you want Wood. How do you get this? How do you make all this happen? But I'm not buying the lineup that we have projected right now on roster resource for the Nationals.
I don't think he's going to be hitting there either. I think they're going to have to move him down.
I mean, maybe even if he hits leadoff, cool. That's even more plate appearances you can project for him, because that was the other thing.
He's not a big walk guy, though. Like, I mean, he was in the minor leagues.
There's no threat to his play. There's no threat to the playing time.
No.
So if you believe in the kid, you let him play. And so we look at projected playing time for him on the high end. It zips at 565, but barely everybody else has him somewhere 525 to 550 range. There's a potential for 600 plus plate appearances given the team context of we like this kid and there's nothing else around him.
Yeah, this is a 300 hitter. You're a guy that you're not having to spend a high draft pick on, who's going to get 600 plate appearances, hit 300, and not be a zero in any other category. He doesn't have prodigious power, but he does have, league average or close to league average power. He's got good speed. Like, I think we could see, like 600 plate appearances, 15 homers, maybe 20 plus steals, and a 300 batting average. That is really valuable considering where he's going. I think Dalen Lyle is a guy that I'm going to be targeting a lot of drafts.
Yep.
All right. Let's move back to the pitcher side of things and talk about Chad Patrick, who's going to be in that Brewers rotation we were referencing earlier. Any interest in Chad Patrick?
I do. I like what I saw. So please pull up his StatCast page, because this is one of the things that I looked at when I was digging into Patrick a few weeks ago, and saying, okay, what's here as they move Peralta as he was being moved, and Patrick comes forward. Yeah, Patrick was doing some things out of the bullpen, but one of the things when we get into him, let's scroll down and look at his breakdowns area. No, go back up on the page where the breakdowns, where it says StatCast and breakdowns. Above that, there you go. Go over to. Sorry, folks listening, but if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see right there the just below the StatCast. There's a breakdowns area.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. This is riveting. Oh, wait, just below the StatCast is a break.
Anyhow, there's his swing and miss rate. His swing and miss rate, if you change the filter from expected WOBA to swing and miss percentage, for those watching, you'll see it grew within the season. Like he was doing some things out of the bullpen, changed his repertoire a bit, added a cutter and did some things. But if you go back and look at what he did out of the bullpen, especially during the postseason, was really impressed on how he went back to Nashville and worked on a couple things. Milwaukee has their pitching lab and has done some things with a multitude of arms, getting them to do more with what they have. And I feel that we're on the precipice of Patrick taking a step forward here. If you look at what they did with him in season. And so I'm excited about the opportunity with Peralta going away. It creates more of a chance for Patrick to stick in the rotation to see if his gains from pitching and relief can carry over to pitching in the rotation. So I am very interested in what Patrick can possibly do this season, considering his ADP currently is 337. So he's an end game 12-team pick right now. You're looking to round out your rotation. He's an SP6 by ADP, and I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued too because this is a guy who is supposedly has pretty good command, or at least showed pretty good command in the minor leagues. And the stuff was really, really good. I'm looking up his stuff plus from the All-Star break on when he came back from the minor leagues. Fastball had a 119 stuff plus. The slider had a 127 stuff plus. The curveball had a 117 stuff plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of it's going to come down to the command and control, but Milwaukee does stuff with these guys, like you mentioned, and I'm very, very intrigued. And currently his ADP, let's see, Patrick is going at pick 337. That is a sleeper. That is a guy that you're getting late in your drafts that you can take a gamble on. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't hurt you very much. But I think there is some massive upside on one of the best teams in baseball, right? Like this is still going to be a very good team. Yeah, I like Chad Patrick a lot. This is I'm actually really glad I
listed some names. And by ADP, listen to some of the names that are going just before him. Brady Singer, Jameson Taillon, Will Warren, Jonah Tong, Jose Soriano, Cade Cavalli, who we haven't seen barely pitch. That's who's going just in front of Patrick. I would take Patrick over just about every single one of those. Maybe Singer, I would say, but it could be a push. But those are the guys that are going all in front.
I mean, the only person who's got more upside than him going around him is Jonah Tong and Andrew Painter. We don't know that they're in the rotation, though. Like, Tong may not be in this rotation to start the year. Painter might not be in the rotation to start the year. I think Painter's got a better shot. But, like, Chad Patrick is in this rotation. Like, they're going to give him...
Everybody's favorite home run machine, Bailey Ober, is going 30 picks before Chad Patrick.
Don't invoke his name. Don't do that to me. I have PTSD still from that. All right.
I think he just gave up another homer.
He might have at this point. Let's go back to Miami and talk about Jacob Marcy, a guy who kind of came out of nowhere. Was really, really interesting when he did. What are your thoughts on Jacob Marcy?
My favorite thought was how Paul got murked by Steve Gardner in the draft champions we're in, because Paul was all set to take Jacob Marcy in the middle of the 10th round, and Gardner took him one pick before, and Paul was not happy. And I'm fine with Paul not being happy because we're 3 picks apart, and he has stolen at least 3 guys for me in this draft already. So, I hope he liked that with that. But he went just in between Dylan Cruz and Brandon Nimmo is where Marcy picked. And again, this is the Marlins. This should be a wide open audition, and Marcy should get all the opportunity to succeed or fail and do whatever he's going to do. So to me, I'm not worried when you look at market price right now. It is what we know what the outfield is, and he's going 150. I don't have a problem with this because of the team context and the fact that if he struggles, he should have plenty of opportunity to struggle, because it's not like anybody else can step up there and really play center field.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to play every single day leading off for the Marlins. This is a guy who's had not just double-digit walk rates, but like 15 to 20% walk rates all throughout the minor leagues. He was 10 in his 234% plate appearance sample at the majors last year. There isn't much power. At best, I think you're looking at low double-digit home runs, so like 10, 11, 12 type thing. But there is a fair amount of speed, and he's going to be leading off in Miami. So you're talking about a good amount of runs scored and probably close to 30-something stolen bases in Miami with 10 home runs and a good batting average. This is a guy who makes a lot of contact. Now, all the projection systems have him for
you may want to pull that up on
230.
screen since we still have, but I was going to ask you to do that because that's really, I'll buy you some time here for a moment, but that's what I was going to point out. None of the projection systems have Marcy hitting any higher than 238. They are all very, so there's a pretty big gap between what he did last year and then what he's done. And I was looking at that as like, okay, obviously they're weighing what Marcy did in AAA last year, where he hit 246. So that's part of the equation. And he hit 275 the prior season, and he had some issues over there. But all the projection systems, there's a sizable drop in his batting average from last year to what's being projected for him right now.
Now, I think part of it is not so much what he did in AAA, but really what he did in last year. What he did in AAA in 2024 and AA in 2024, when he really struggled with contact, right?
Mm-hmm.
But but in 2025, like he had 90% zone contact rate with a 19% O swing. In AAA, 88.7% zone contact with a 19% O swing. Like I mean, it really depends. Like, do you think he's going to revert back to who he was, 2024 or before, or if he's going to be that kind of contact profile? Maybe this is a guy we really need to watch in spring and see how much contact he's making. Because I guess there is some risk here that he jumps back down, but I mean, he looked so good. If you watched him play last year, like he looked really, really good. And I tend to be a believer and a buyer in Jacob Marcy. The projection systems, not so much. All right, let's talk about another guy who's going to be going really, really high in drafts, and that is Nolan McLean, who like this is going to be the leader in the clubhouse of like sophomore pitchers, guys who could take a massive step forward and be an SP1 or 2 moving forward. At least that's what a lot of people in the industry are going to be thinking. You're going to pay a huge price for that. Are you paying a huge price on Nolan McLean?
I'm not. So I am not. I would say one of the things that stood out with his, like the unicornish of this thing, if you try to go back and look for guys with 60% ground ball rates and 30% strikeout rates, that list is one, and that's him. So that was one of the things where it's like, that was interesting. But then when I dug into it, so my bold prediction, and McLean was one of those this year, is I said that he was not a top 60 pitcher. And I looked at, so some of the numbers I have here, said, these were the 10 rookie pitchers last year. So looking at the RotoWire Online Championships last year, 10 rookie pitchers and where they got drafted. The top 10, Jackson Jobe, 229, Bubba Chandler, 290, Jack Leiter, 313, Quinn Matthews, 341, Kumar Rocker, 277, Zebby Matthews, 327, Festa, 302, Chase Burns, 313, Shane Smith, 344. Could you say that any one of those guys is McLean demonstrably better than any of those dudes?
Maybe, maybe not. I think McLean's really,
his ADP's inside the top 100, though. That's kind of my point, is like all these guys last year that we loved.
The stuff remember, we were trying to good.
Please get all these other guys out of the way and get David Festa and Zebby Matthews in the rotation and do all this. And like we were trying to push people out of the way to make room for these dudes, and then that didn't work. And then if you look at, so that this gets back to the same thing. It's market price, right? And then if I could pull up, I'm going to share a screen because Jeff Zimmerman had put something on Blue Sky a couple of months ago that really got my attention. He looked at comparable starts to McLean's 2025 ball percentage and swinging strike percentage. And his note about it was acceptable, but not great. And you look at some of the names on there, and our favorite landscaper, Kyle Gibson, shows up on that. Herman Marquez, Jose Suarez. So all these different guys were part of that. So there are some notable names. Bradish is on there. Burns is on there.
Board bet.
Cobb.
Board bet.
This would be a board bet. I am absolutely out on the market price.
I say that he will be a top 50 starter or better.
Right. I said he's outside the top 60.
Yeah, I'm giving you. I'm giving you.
Again,
some,
these are bold predictions.
Yeah, but that's why I'm giving you some runway. Top 50, or you want to do? All right, top 50. Okay.
Top 50 is fine, but this to me is like I am out on this.
This stuff plus is outrageous. Like he and yes, the command plus is lower than 100. So I think it's really going to come down to command and control. Now, I don't have much concern about his command. I think it is really the control. Is he going to walk too many guys? But man, I think this is a future ace. I really
So
do.
let's would you rather type of situation.
Okay.
Would you rather have McClade or Kevin Gossman?
Oh, McLean.
McClain or Brandon Woodruff?
Oh, McLean.
McClain or Yuri Perez?
Yuri Perez.
McClain or Chase Burns?
McLean, and that one's not close.
McClain or Sonny Gray with the Red Sox?
McLean.
McClain or Nick Lodolo?
McLean.
Okay. So these are all the starting pitchers in the first pitch Arizona Speakers League draft that went after McClain.
Yuri
so
should
McClain
not.
was taken. McClain was taken by Eric Carabell, but then you said Woodruff gave you some pause, and Woodruff.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That one.
Gausman, you didn't really have pause, but Woodruff was the big pause, and Woodruff went after. But all those guys I mentioned, all were in the 8th round.
And Gausman was a pause because of the volume. Like Gausman, I don't think Gausman is like the stud that he once was, but I know I'm gonna get 170 good innings.
Gausman burned me last year. I had the exact same mindset last year, and I got torched by it with Gausman. I hate to go back in there and be like, I don't think he's gonna do it again this year. But I remember last year going, I don't see this. And I had opportunities to buy Gausman at discount last year, and I passed on it, and I regretted doing that.
Like the skills on Gausman are definitely declining, right? Like he's at an age now where he's no longer the guy that he once was, but you're gonna volume the hell out of things, and he pitches for the Blue Jays, so the win potential is going to be fairly sky high. But there is a world in which Gausman just falls off, right? And we saw it a bit in 2024 when he had a 3.83 ERA. I think there is some scariness with Gausman, but the volume is makes me think about it. Woodruff, I think the skills are fine. The skills are, I think he's just a really, really good pitcher. The problem with Woodruff is health, right? Is he going to be able to throw 150, 160 innings at the level that he does, right? I think while he's on the mound, a per inning basis, Woodruff is, you take Woodruff over McLean, but I don't know what the health situation with Woodruff is going to be. The last time Brandon Woodruff threw more than 67 innings was 2022. So that's the concern for me on a guy like Woodruff.
Fair points.
So, but yeah, I'll take McLean. Yuri needs to be going ahead. I think. I mean, well, not needs.
That was the other one. I forgot. You were very definitive, Yuri.
Yeah, Yuri to me, now another year removed away from the Tommy John. I see Yuri going back to being a top 15 starter. Not back. I guess he's never technically even been a top 15 starter, but I think he has the potential to be a top 15 starter. So. All right, let's keep moving and kind of finish out these last two guys. The first one's Matt Shaw. I think the real big question here is, where does he play? There's been a lot of talk about Nico Horner being moved, but it hasn't happened yet. Where does Matt Shaw kind of fit into this picture this year?
I don't know where he fits in. Yeah, he's going to have to hit his way on the roster to stay on the roster. Now they're already talking about him trying to work on different defensive positions. That's not really something you work on at the major league level.
Yeah.
So it's he's going to have an amazing spring to push Ballesteros off the DH role and push Ballesteros back down to Iowa. But I pretty easy to envision a path where Matt Shaw has to go to Iowa to work on this defensive versatility for a little bit, because he's blocked at third base. You're not going to move Michael Bush off of first base, maybe a platoon every now and then, but you're not moving those guys. Shaw can't
he's a
play
super
the outfield.
utility guy, but they need to move Horner if they're going to keep Shaw on this roster. And until they do that, I'm not drafting Shaw.
I am right there with you.
All right, then let's finish out with Jacob Misiorowski, who is just loaded with talent, but there are a lot of risks on a guy like Misiorowski. Where are you at on him?
I feel like every time I watch him pitch, his arm's going to blow up.
I do too. I absolutely do. But like, he looks like when he is filling that zone, he has some of the best stuff in baseball. Yeah, he's unreal. But I worry about a guy his size being able to repeat his mechanics. I worry about his ability to continuously fill in the zone. Like I don't know. I just what's his ADP right now? Because I
too damn high, 140.
Yeah,
that's, I mean, to me, his ADP is higher than his innings pitch projection, and it's like, no, that's what scares me is nobody has him. Steamer has about 147 innings pitched. I'm taking the under on that.
Yeah,
Oopsie has 149, and Oopsie's going to love, the stuff. Their projection is going to be the best of pitcher like this because stuff plus comes into play more with their projection system than the others. But when the ADP is higher than the average projected innings pitched, I'm worried. And I have looked, and I did not take Mizorowski myself. I remember looking to see where he went. Mizorowski went towards the back of the 11th round to the same team that drafted Yuri Perez and Tyler Glasnow. Talking about leaning into that risk. Glasnow and Mizorowski. Oh, and they just also took Shane Baz. So it's like all in on the risk reward.
Who is this?
By this particular another podcast host who drives the show. I don't want to out anybody, but
out them. It's a public podcast league, right? Out them.
So if you're a wrestling fan and watching, you remember RVD. So how about DVR? Derek has done that.
I want to ask Derek about this. That's I mean, it is like it's a free drafted hold. So like
he's got Reagans, Perez, Glasnow, Mizorowski, and Baz. He has not taken a closer yet either.
Oh wow!
And we are in the 13th round, and he just took his last pick was Baz, so he's got 5 starters, and he's going to be bargain basement diving on all the relievers.
At pick 140, there is a 0% chance that you are going to return that exact value. He is either going to be way more valuable or way less valuable, and like that kind of risk reward profile is just not something I put on my teams very often. At least not at this price.
Not anymore. You used to. That used to be your modus operandi. That was your thing, man.
But not. Yeah, no. That is not how I roll these days. Like I me. I'm not a Glasnow guy, but I will take Glasnow 100 times out of 100 over Mizorowski.
Well, he did. He took Glasnow. He took Glasnow 2 rounds earlier.
But
all of these guys in the same team, which is fascinating.
Glasnow's going like 131.
Yeah,
and Mizorowski's going 138. So like they're literally right there. Usually you're gonna have to choose unless you're DVR, right? I just it really depends on what the start of my rotation is. Like I would not do what DVR did, but like if I was gonna take Mizorowski, it's because I've got like 2 horses in front of him. Right.
I would say in my DC 50, Mizorowski went in the middle of the 10th round. So he went in the middle.
That's like 120.
He went in the middle of he went towards the end of the 11th in a 15-teamer, and he went in the middle of the 10th in a 12-teamer.
He's gonna have a pretty wide range, and I'm gonna look at what his range is. He's gone as high as 93.
Oh God, no.
And as low as 223.
I mean, if you're in a league that only uses stuff plus, and that's the only category, I get the top 100 pick.
That's a fun league to play in, though. Like I would play in a league like that.
Wow, that is a big number.
If
you're one of the best guys to watch pitch, but every time he's throwing something, I'm worried it's going to be like a wave to the bullpen. Like
if you're in a 10 or 12 team mixed league, though, I don't mind it.
Yeah,
right. In a 15, I don't think I'm doing it. But in a 10 or 12 team league, you're shooting for upside. You're shooting for the moon, right?
Yeah.
Go for Mizorowski. Like he's the moon. Like if he is the number 1 pitcher in fantasy, that's not out of the realm of possibilities, right? If he throws 170 innings, I don't think he's gonna. Of just a sky high strikeout rate. Like this is prime Jacob deGrom upside. But the downside is,
the other Jacob deGrom.
The other Jacob deGrom. Yeah, it is the bad Jacob deGrom. So, like, maybe we should be treating him like kind of like a diet version of that, right? And so 140, that's not a bad price, right? People were taking that risk on DeGrom, at pick 40.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's gonna wrap us up for this episode. Jason, want to remind everybody where you can reach on social media and plug anything you got going on.
Yeah, find me at Jason Collette at Blue Sky. The last installment of the Bold Prediction series at RotoWire will go live in the next 48 hours. So that would be 60 hitters, 30 hitters, 30 pitchers from all 2 guys from every team. So that's going live in the next 48 hours. I did if you haven't tuned in the PitchCon, if you're make sure you have the recording. That's something that I saw that Josh Sperry said that the recordings will be up Wednesday, Thursday, so you can see Justin's session that was going on at PitchCon, the one I did Saturday morning, on how you can leverage artificial intelligence to help you draft prep, not create content or any help you draft prep. So I did a session on that on Saturday morning, so those will be up to watch. And I don't have any other podcast appearances this week yet. I don't have any else though. Blue Sky, you can find me, and RotoWire, the last installment of the Bold Predictions goes up this week.
Were you watching the Fab one I did?
I will watch the replay. I did not. Okay. I've been.
I made an analogy or a metaphor of I linked Zone Contact and Fab, and it was a beautiful piece of poetry. So I'm looking forward to you seeing that. So
I will check it out. I'm looking forward to watching record. I've seen a handful of sessions in between. Different things, obviously the weather.
One of the things I love about PitchCon and Potapalooza, when I was doing that, like the trolling that goes on in the comments, and I tried to turn it back around on the trolls a little bit, and I thought I
actually didn't even look at the comment section myself because I was flying solo. I don't know if you were flying solo.
I don't do solo.
I normally do. I'm normally used to being interviewed or some back and forth like we have here. So honestly, it was a little unnerving to fly solo as long as I did until I was like, all right, Nick, come here. Let's ask some questions. So
yeah, I've thought about like doing solo projects like that. I'm not comfortable with it yet. I mean, I would love to be the type of person like Nick who can get up in front of a, group and just talk by themselves for an hour. That's not me, at least not yet. So maybe one day I'll give a solo project.
Maybe it's also because by day all of my conversations are back and forth. If I'm talking to a colleague or talking to a customer, it is a back and forth conversation. And going on such a long dialogue is against my very nature, because I have been for a while until recently a solutions engineer, and I'm used to asking people and getting to know their problems and helping things. So I'm used to asking questions and letting them talk for a while. So myself talking for like 40-45 minutes straight, I was fighting that like half the time internally, going, shut up, let somebody else talk. Oh, wait, there is nobody else. I have to keep talking.
Yeah. And I'm not a person who does prep. So I can't just think of stuff off the top of my head that quickly. I've got to be able to look stuff up as I talk. So it doesn't work for me. You can find me on all social media platforms, Justin Mason FWFB. You can read my work at Fangraphs and Fantasy Pros. And I've got a lot of articles coming up in February. I think I'm supposed to write like 13 times for Fantasy Pros and 20 times for Fangraphs. So if you like my writing, then there's going to be a ton of it out there.
You're an FSWA nominee, so you should like Justin's writing. Congrats on that, by the way.
Honestly, I was shocked. And this is not being humble. I just didn't I submitted stuff for it. I didn't think I submitted that good of stuff. I've been in a point where I'm at in my career in the fantasy industry where I have to kind of just write what I'm told to write at this, because I've got so much. I don't have time to free write and write about stuff that I would really call passion projects. And so the fact that I was nominated was really, really cool, because I honestly submitted for it thinking I figured we get nominated for Podcast of the Year again, as we almost always do. But to get nominated for the writing was really cool, because I didn't expect it at all.
That's awesome. I didn't get any this year, but previously, when I won the Writer of the Year, I was like, really? What? Huh? Yeah. So it was, because when you look at the names, you're like, yeah, there's not a chance in that group. But it's always cool to see, people get recognized for the work they're doing, and honestly, luck on the rest of the process, because it is a very opaque process. We don't know how.
We have no idea.
Panel, how it gets graded, and then it's like, okay, hey, look, this is what happens. So
I need to actually reach out to Andy and ask him what articles I submitted so I can even share, because I don't even remember what I submitted for those. So and then of course I'm on this podcast and the Friends of Fantasy Benefits podcast. That will wrap us up for this episode. For Jason and myself, thank you for listening. Have fantastic baseball off season.
Thanks, guys.